So I have about 2 hours until I turn in. I'm going to try to get back on my 9 to 5 sleep schedule. And um, one of the nice things about this vacation is that I've refrained from taking in the news or political content at volume. Um, that's been really healing for me, especially given how precarious the political situation in our country is. Um, I tried to write my wedding vows last night, but it's funny because that's not really, I don't have words for that right now. I feel like it's a real godsend, but I don't believe in God anymore. He doesn't believe that people have souls. So, how am I supposed to convince him that he's my soulmate? So, anyway, I did have some thoughts to share though about the effects that social media is having in the role that it's playing in all this. Um, I feel very strongly that we're on the cusp of violent conflict. And I used to envy my grandparents because on both sides they had fought in World War II or the Cold War. My dad's father was a vet of World War II who got his education through the GI Bill. And my mother's parents were both pretty high level operators in the Air Force. She was an intelligence officer and he was a lieutenant colonel. So I envied them because they fought the bad guys, they fought evil. And growing up in the 80s and 90s, um, I didn't think that in my lifetime I would have such glory. Okay. Um, when Trump was in office the first time, I wrote an email to a friend and I was basically like, he's a Marine, so like Sitfu, right? Suck it the fuck up. We all have to face evil in our lifetimes. And as I think about leaving the country, I'm reminded that many, many people on this planet have to make a migration. And, I try to take a detached attitude towards it. It's kind of like, what, why should I be the exception? And I'm very aware that my vlogs are really amateurish, but I was thinking about YouTube and TikTok. I seem to remember YouTube being like in the early 2000s, this sort of weird ghetto of really gauche content. And then it became a confessional space, I guess. And that's where I find myself, sitting here being really open, being vulnerable. I don't have social media in terms of Instagram or Facebook anymore, but I really enjoy this because it's less time consuming than keeping a journal. And um, what happened with YouTube was that people started having brands, they started having a niche, they started becoming professional content creators. They have a lot more production skills than I do at this point. Um, but I was thinking about that, and then I was thinking about TikTok. And because I taught ESL online for 3 years, I learned a lot about China. I spent 30 to 40 hours a week in sessions with Chinese adults and children who told me all kinds of things about their lives. And when I was not in session with them, I would devote some time each day to watching China vloggers like Serpent Zede and Lao Y86. And they were able to give me a perspective that really informed me. And I understood my students' expectations. And I came to understand more and more about the Chinese government and its role and power in the world, and how their particular form of I don't I'm not going to get into like political scientific designations, but they have a form of fascism going on where the state and the yeah, I just did that. They just the hybrid enterprises, okay? And then I learned from reading books like Spy Schools and talking to, one of my ex-boyfriends who wrote a book about intellectual property. Um, the informational warfare is fascinating. Um, but when it became kind of the purview of right wingers to say we need to protect ourselves from TikTok because the Chinese are spying on us, um, I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, absolutely. I was never going to get down with TikTok. And I told friends with kids, like, don't let your kids get on TikTok because totally. And it now occurs to me that if Russia had a hand in installing this monstrous regime, and I will die on that hill, okay? I will die on the Rushgate Hill. I don't care what you think of me for it. I won't kill anyone on that hill, but I'll die on that hill, okay? Um, so if Russia started the fire, the Chinese are currently throwing accelerant on it, and here's how. I have noticed that the content that filters into my YouTube feed that is based on TikTok compilations has altered the conversational space and made it much, much more confrontational. So, I sit here, makeup off in my freaking pajamas, rambling my heart out to you, and it's like old school. Because what I'm noticing more and more online are these short format videos of people calling each other out and taking the tone like, let me tell you, bitch, please, right? I started watching and subscribing to a channel on YouTube called Park Rose Permaculture because I find this woman intelligent, intriguing. I don't always agree with her views, but what she's doing is very confrontational, and she doesn't have like a confrontational manner about her. And people are sending her pizzas, maggots are sending her pizzas, and she's making short form videos about it. And this is how it escalates. So the virtual conflict is getting more and more not okay. It's no laughing matter. It's not a light thing. Um, and it occurs to me that the Chinese aren't just spying on us. They are, what's the word? Using this platform to encourage violent conflict. Um, and that's really disturbing to me. It's really, really disturbing. So I just had to get that off my chest. Um, I can't even pretend to be like not afraid. I can't even pretend to be not afraid. My boyfriend says that all anti-fascist actions are legitimate at this point. So I'm not knocking what this woman is doing with her YouTube channel. I'm just saying I feel like there are major players with deep historical agendas and really sophisticated technology. And, I'm not sure, I'm really not sure that, because on the one hand, people can say, well, these videos are great because they're protest and everyone has the right to protest. If if the masses swell and there's so much content, I'm not really sure about that. I'm not really sure about that. And so I just want everybody to take a beat and think a little bit about how you're using social media and whether or not you think you are using something, but it is using you, right? Okay. I'm just saying, be careful. Don't get it twisted. Don't get manipulated. All right. That's enough for now.